Okay, wow, I look pretty rough. I mean, it hasn't been that long of a day, but wow, I gotta do a little something about that. So, anyways, fall of Fingolfin. We mentioned last time in part two of Morgoth versus Fingolfin, he fell, and he would have been thrown to the wolves, but Thorondor flew in, and swooped him up, scooped him up, and flew him off, and laid him up in the mountains overlooking Gondolin. And it says, "Great was the lamentation in Hithlum when the fall of Fingolfin became known, and Fingon, his son, in sorrow, took up the lordship of the house of Fingolfin and the kingdom of the Noldor. But his young son Erenion, who was after named Gilgalad, he sent to the havens." Now, Morgoth's power at this point overshadowed the Northlands, if I could speak correctly. But Barahir would not flee from Dorthonion and remained fighting over the land, says foot by foot with his enemies. And Morgoth pursued their people to the death until only few remained, and all the forest of the northland slopes of that land was turned little by little into a region of dread and dark enchantment that even the orcs would not enter unless need drove them, and it was called Deljuwaith, or Tower New Fuin, which is the forest under Nightshade, and the trees that grew there after the burning were black and grim, and their roots were tangled, groping in the dark like claws, and those who strayed among them became lost and blind, and were strangled or pursued to madness by phantoms of terror. So, this is the place where Barahir and all these people of the Edain are still living. But they didn't want to leave, but then his wife, Emildir, who would rather have stayed and fought with her son and her husband. They gathered up all the women and children, and they fled. They got out of there by perilous paths and a lot of misery and loss through the mountains, and came to Brethil. And some were received by the Halidin, and others passed over the mountains to Dorlomion, and the people of Galdor, who was Hador's son. And among these were Rian, daughter of Belegund, and Morwen, who was named Eldwin, that is Elfsheen, daughter of Beregund. But none of them ever saw again the men that they had left back in Dorthonion. So we're going to hear about them next time. So Stephen Colbert, I want to talk about Silmarillion Tolkien in Middle Earth. This is day like 130. I don't know how many times. Well, I know how many times. I don't know how many times it's going to happen. But anyway, hit me up, please. Thank you.